It is late March 1945 and US forces are advancing into Western Germany over the Rhine, intent on surrounding and eliminating remaining armed German resistance. This operation led to the last major battle between American and German tanks on the Western Front in the Second World War. The U.S. 3rd Armored Division under Major General Maurice Rose was given the task to reach the German city of Paderborn and link up with the U.S. 2nd Armored Division coming the other direction, completing the encirclement of the Ruhr Pocket and trapping 350,000 German troops from Army Group B, the last significant German force in the West. The 3rd Armored Division had encountered only sporadic resistance, and General Rose was confident of reaching Paderborn quickly. One of Rose's elements was Task Force Wellborn, which had advanced to the town of Ettin, driving out 2 hastily built SS training regiments. Wellborn was heading straight for an extremely powerful German force hidden in woods beside the road. 3rd Company, Heavy Panzer Battalion 507, was a hugely experienced heavy tank battalion equipped with massive King Tiger tanks. 3rd Company's commander, Hauptmann or Captain Wolfgang Koltermann, a holder of the Knight's Cross for his actions on the Eastern Front, had carefully sighted 5 King Tigers from his company's 3rd Platoon in an ambush position atop a wooded hill, with infantry also dug in to support the armor. The 507th Heavy Panzer Battalion knew its business, having seen extensive service on the Eastern Front, and was attached to SS Regiment Holzer, defending Hamborn and Paderborn. Task Force Wellborn was advancing in column. Colonel Wellborn was unconcerned because earlier that day German tanks that had attacked his column had been reportedly destroyed by US aircraft. Scouts had been sent on ahead. Wellborn's jeep was leading with 3 tanks immediately behind. Suddenly, Koltermann's tanks opened fire from 850 meters range. Within minutes, 7 US Shermans were on fire. Wellborn and some survivors made it hastily to a nearby castle at Hamborn and established a defensive position. The rest of Wellborn's column was now being lashed by King Tiger fire. German infantry joined in with small arms and Panzerfaust anti-tank weapons. The column was progressively destroyed on the forested road. Koltermann now radioed headquarters for permission to advance and finish off the enemy. At 1945 hours, permission was duly granted, and the King Tigers began to leave their ambush positions, grinding inexorably forward. Over the next 2 hours, the King Tigers, in the dark, operating by the light of burning Shermans and half-tracks and other US vehicles, shot up anything that they could see. The huge German tanks pushed the wrecked vehicles aside and moved on down the road. Altogether, the Panzer Company knocked out 17 Shermans and 17 half-tracks, several jeeps and GMC trucks, and 1 M36 tank destroyer. Koltermann later said of the battle that the devil was on the loose on the road that day. Koltermann's force now rolled on, intending to wipe out the remaining US forces in the column. In the meantime, Major General Rose, commanding 3rd Armored Division, was determined to be with the first US troops that entered the German city of Paderborn. He stayed right at the front, traveling light with a small headquarters group, trailing his divisional task forces, searching for the big breakthrough. The problem for the 3rd Armored Division was the unexpectedly tough German resistance in the villages and woods that they began to encounter as they approached Paderborn. If Rose's division managed to capture the city, he would close the trap on the Ruhr Pocket, containing 350,000 German troops, a major achievement and a huge feather in his own cap. By the 29th of March 1945, the 3rd Armored Division's 4 columns were strung out along parallel roads, converging on Paderborn and fighting hard. However, with the smashing up of Task Force Wellborn by the ambushing German Army King Tigers, a huge problem was now encountered. General Rose was, at that time, half a mile behind the stalled Task Force Wellborn when he learned that communications had been cut. Concerned, Rose continued to move forward towards the sounds of the firing. Shortly afterwards, at 19:45 hours, as recounted, Hauptmann Koltermann had been given permission to move forward and destroy the rest of Colonel Wellborn's column. The result was that Major General Rose was on a direct collision course with Captain Koltermann. Rose's mobile headquarters group was very small, consisting of a Peep, a radio-equipped jeep carrying Colonel Frederick Brown, the 3rd Armored Division's artillery commander, followed by Rose's Peep, then an M20 scout car, and 2 motorcycle messengers. In total, Rose's command group consisted of 5 officers and 10 enlisted men. They were sandwiched between Shermans, an armoured infantry of Task Force Wellborn, ahead of them, and behind them a tank destroyer battalion. As Rose's group stopped to check their maps, Hauptmann Maximilian Viersching, commanding 2nd Company 507th Heavy Panzer Battalion, along with some Panzer Grenadiers, attacked. Viersching commanded 9 King Tigers and 3 Jagdpanther tank destroyers, a massively powerful armoured force. Viersching moved quickly to cut the road behind Rose, trapping a large part of the American column between his tanks and those of Koltermann. Small arms fire raked the length of the column as Panzer Grenadiers attacked. The tank destroyer battalion behind Rose's command group was now under heavy assault. All along the US column, US troops abandoned any soft-skin vehicles to seek shelter in ditches, including General Rose and his party. Altogether, the Germans had managed to trap about 75 US vehicles, who were now unable to advance or retreat. Several half-tracks and an M18 tank destroyer that tried to push through Viersching's blocking force to relieve the trapped US general were knocked out. Rose radioed Task Force Doan, ordering the colonel to relieve Wellborn's trapped column, but Doan was himself stopped dead by heavy German attacks. With German infantry closing in, it was decided to remount the headquarters vehicles and try to reach Colonel Wellborn's new command post at the castle cross-country. The firing coming from the head of the column, some half a mile ahead, had by now stopped, so perhaps the German tanks had moved on or withdrawn. But what Rose didn't know was that Koltermann, with 4 King Tigers, was moving forward to deliver the final blow to the remnants of Wellborn's column. This job had been slightly delayed following a huge US artillery barrage that had been called in by Colonel Brown in Rose's group as they sought shelter. Cutting across on a minor road, Rose's headquarters group actually drove straight into a force of German King Tigers. It was, of course, dark, and the Americans initially mistook the looming King Tigers for the new M26 Pershing tank, which had entered service on the Western Front only recently. Colonel Brown, in the leading Peep, realizing his terrible mistake, immediately tried to lead the column in a wild, careering ride through the German tanks, trying to escape, but the 3rd King Tiger in the German column pulled across the road, blocking it completely, stopping the US vehicles. Rose dismounted from his Peep, as did the rest of the headquarters staff, and they all raised their hands in surrender. The commander of the tank now blocking the road was sat on the top of his turret hatch, cradling an MP40 machine pistol. Spotting Rose's holstered M1911 pistol, the young tank commander started yelling and gesticulating at Rose in German, leveling his machine pistol at the general. It seems that Rose dropped his right hand to his belt, preparing to undo his pistol belt. But the German opened fire, shooting a long burst from his MP40 into the 45-year-old general, hitting him 17 times, killing him instantly. The following day, 31st of March 1945, US columns managed to finally fight their way into Paderborn, and the remaining German armour either pulled back or was knocked out in vicious street fighting that followed. The ambush of Task Force Wellborn was the last large-scale armored clash between US and German forces in World War II. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also visit my audiobook channel, War Stories with Mark Felton. You can also help to support both of my channels at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.